Welcome to the Burn Bootcamp podcast. I'm your host, Morgan Klein, co-founder and CEO, along with my husband and company visionary, Devin Klein.
And together, with our amazing team, we are going to help you push past your limits, not just physically in our gyms, but right here, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually on the Burn Bootcamp podcast.
Together, we will take on challenges and break through barriers to transform into the best possible version of ourselves. We are more than a gym. We are a community. Your community. Let's go, Burn Nation. Welcome to today's episode of the Burn Bootcamp podcast. I'm your host, Morgan Klein, CEO and co-founder of Burn Bootcamp, alongside my co-host here, Devin Klein, and we have our HQ crew with us today. So Devin, what's up?
I am excited to be here, you guys. Thanks for tuning in. And, just a little update on me. I had a 3-day little spiritual retreat in Mexico and feeling really, really good about it. Meditated in the jungle with my mindset coach for like 2 straight days. Did some yoga. Feel spiritually connected. And, it feels good. It feels good to be at peace, and it feels good to reset all the problems of the world, kind of fall on your shoulders if you let them. And so I feel mentally strong and emotionally strong.
You want to know another problem of the world? Is our communication. Because when I just learned that you were in the jungle of Mexico for 3 days?
Just right now?
Right now.
Oh, really?
So
I think you were in California and then winning a national rugby championship
You were
somewhere.
world traveling too.
World traveling. But yes, I'm glad everybody's here. We're excited to have a great session today. And we got Victoria, Cerisi, Bryce Morrow in the house as co-hosts.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here. I just keep learning cool things, and we've got a lot of great stuff in store today, and I keep hearing a lot of great stories, and I'm just the average burn bro trying to keep up with all these, these burn leaders and learn about all the great stories of Burn Nation.
So cool. And I'm Victoria Cerisi. You can call me Vic. Currently serve as the Vice President of Culture at Burn headquarters. Been on a 10-year Burn journey, and it's been amazing. It's going to be a part of my life forever. And just thankful to be here with you guys. We have a lot of amazing things to talk about today. 2 fun facts about myself. I'm a mama of 3 boys, and leg day's my favorite protocol.
So today was a good day for you.
Yes.
All right, guys. Well, we're going to jump right into the burn world. So as you know, we like to share some of the current events of what is going on in Burn Nation. So you have heard us talking about it. You've listened to plenty of podcasts, and our book is officially now available. That's exciting.
Yes. We're so excited.
So it's now out, guys. You can start reading it everywhere. As a reminder, it is a book talking about the 5 pillars that has made this company so amazing. And it talks about inner and outer strength. So how do you not just work out to, really create transformation in your life, but how do you use those 5 pillars throughout your life, inside and out of the gym, to create that inner and outer strength? We have amazing transformation stories in the book that you're going to hear about. So it's available really anywhere you can find books. Amazon, you can go to burnbootcamp.com/book to find links to that, or they may be right in your own gym if you are a Burn Bootcamp member. So make sure you check that out. Talk to your franchise partner about getting some in your gym as well, so you can use that as a tool to help you transform. So very exciting.
Yeah, and I would really love to see when you guys buy a copy that you tag us on Instagram and that you just tell us a one-liner about what Burn has done for you. I know that each of us have our own Burn journey. I'm excited, Vic, for you to share yours today with Burn Nation. We all have our own Burn journey, and this book is really a solidification of the 5-pillar philosophy that made us who we are. That's the 5 steps to inner and outer strength. And it's burn, achieve, nourish, believe, and connect. And we're going to talk a little bit, we're going to weave it through today's podcast. And this book is, a lot of people worked hard on it. Shout out to the HQ team, Ansley, our copywriter internally, who helped work on the book, Hachette, our publisher, and just everybody that's put, all of our franchise partners who really allowed this to come to fruition and really allowed Morgan and I to pen their stories. I mean, without the 14 stories that highlight and really the human archetypical problems, right? The alcoholism that so many of us deal with, obesity that a lot of us deal with, motivation, just, from seemingly small things to obviously astronomical sized challenges, this book really shows how that 5-step strategy to inner and outer strength will get you over and through anything that you are going through in your life, and really help to give you a perspective on, what fitness really does for your life and what it's done for so many of our members, which is jumpstart the engine to transformation and allows you to start to build confidence tangibly through a workout that you get to put your hands on every day, through the hardest thing that you get to do every day that you get the privilege of doing, is waking up or before you go to sleep, or sometime whatever your time is, putting yourself through demanding training, anchoring your life in fitness is what this book is all about. And through that is where you begin to start the journey of really knowing yourself and discovering who you are and what's stopping you from being everything you want to be.
I have something I have to come clean about.
What?
The copy that I'm reading, I took directly off of Devin's desk, and I got into it, and there was notes, and I was just thinking, man, I hope he wasn't solving just the most important problems, and I just took those notes away. So I have it. If you need anything in there, it's coming back your way. It's not making it back your way in the same condition, because I've been reading that thing in the sauna.
So
I don't know if you want it back, but if you need it, it's coming back your way.
I want it back, and I want you to sign it with your sweat and everything on it. Yeah,
that's worth something.
Yeah, we'll frame it up.
All right, cool. Well, our next headline here, and what's going on in Burn Nation, is we are dropping a Burn On Demand summer special. So it's an amazing deal for our Burn On Demand product. So if you are somebody that already works out in our gyms, you use our app, and we have that on demand feature, that B right in the middle of our app, that allows for you to work out anywhere you are. So it's summertime. We know you're on the go. We know that you have vacation. Maybe your kids are still in some sports and tournaments, and we want to make sure we can meet you exactly where you're at, which is why Devin and I built this app to begin with. So currently we have a special for both members and non-members. So you can check it out if you are not a member yet in Burn Nation for $29.99 a month. And if you are already a member, we give you a discount because we love to take care of our people. And so you get it at $9.99 a month. And you can never miss a workout. Keep that Keep Moving Club going. I know Bryce cares a lot about his Keep Moving Club.
I do. It's motivating.
Yeah. So
DK,
how many camps are you at now?
I think 107.
Nice.
Yeah.
68 today.
68?
Nice.
Yep.
That's cool.
Did you hit
I
this?
ran a lot, but 68. See my little ego coming out, like competing with
Yeah.
you. Like,
Yeah.
I knew that got to you a little bit.
It does. But I also know in my heart that I've also done some running, and that's been helpful.
Yeah. Tell yourself whatever you need to tell yourself.
Here's a fun fact. So Wednesday morning, my sister and I have our hump day call. So every Wednesday we talk at 7:30, and we're going to the beach in 2 weeks. And I said, Burn On Demand. That's where
Yeah,
it's at. And
that's
so
right.
we're going to be doing a camp on the beach together.
I have no doubt that you will do that.
Yes.
See, the Keep Moving Club for me this is probably my ego talking as well, but I haven't hit 50 yet, but I know I've hit 50.
Yeah.
And I'm really bad sometimes at not logging things. Like I've done the live here, like
Yep.
I've actually done
Twice.
inside Burn On Demand, but I don't log it anywhere. We've done some workouts like at our home gym with our franchise partners. So now I'm like a little embarrassed to like celebrate 50 camps because I'm like way behind everybody, which is not the intent of the Keep Moving Club,
Yeah.
by the
That's
way.
right.
But I just, again, like Devin said, I have to remind myself, in my heart, I know I've kept moving.
Yeah.
Well,
Yes.
you are just like everyone else,
Yeah.
right? You have those natural human tendencies to want to compete and to feel bad about yourself if you see other people that are perceived to be doing better than you. And I think that's great that you talk about it, because being our leader and the CEO, most times like people put on this armor, this necessity to like show you how strong they are, when the real strength is in the vulnerability and relating to people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think really it's a tool for whatever you need it for. So for
Yeah.
me, the reason I get pumped up about being at 107 is a couple times a week, I'm actually tracking. I told myself I'm going to hit 250. So I'm tracking, I'm doing the amount of camps that I've taken as a percent of the days that have been in the year, and then saying, am I on track to do 250? So that's it, but it's something that is motivating to me, because
Yeah.
at the beginning of the year, if I said I'm going to do 250, then I can't get behind.
Yeah.
Right. So that's, that real-time tracking has been extremely helpful, and it just keeps me on track to just go to camp, do camp.
We're going to talk
Just
about
show
that a
up.
little bit more. Like, I think we will have a question come in about accountability. And I think this is one lever that we get to pull.
Yep.
So, all right. So Devin, we had some new locations open in Burn Nation.
Okay, location number 402, Laguna Niguel, California. All right, Christina Hockley and Madison Bettis. You guys, Christina and Madison, they are amazing. You have to go check this location out. Bryce just checked this location out. I just could not be happier to introduce a new location in California. And I mean, the energy of these two is like, I mean, it's such a match, not only for each other, but it's also a match for running an amazing location out there in Laguna Niguel, California. Both athletes. Christina played soccer up until college, and Madison was a college cheerleader. And I feel like they've just been on life's journey together. When you get to see them, they're the best of friends. And I actually met on a treadmill while they were pregnant. They were telling me the story in person when I asked them, where did this all start? And they were both pregnant with their first babies, actually. And they always wanted to open a gym, and they wanted to do something together. They didn't really know necessarily right off the bat that it was Burn, but it quickly became about Burn right away. And they've both been attending the Costa Mesa location with Kelly and Shannon. Shout out to Kelly and Shannon and their families in Costa Mesa for planting the seed. Originally Missy Stroud too, who opened that location originally, and planting the seed in California. We're just continuing to grow in each location, bearing fruit and showing people how important it can be in their lives. And so Bryce was out there. You got to see the energy firsthand, didn't you?
Yeah, it was amazing. I mean, I just picture my life. I love my home gym, Lake Norman. Shout out Lake Norman. But I do like to picture my life at Laguna Niguel, just rolling off to the ocean, fresh from a 5 a.m. surf session, just
palm trees,
getting out of the board shorts into the workout gear and just rolling into the best community. Christina and Madison were fantastic. Jacqueline kicked my butt, and it was really special. I think I was there in their soft opening. So you're just starting to see the community take shape, and it's still very early. And when you're looking around and just seeing all these smiling faces, people are like, wow, I'm so glad that this is now in my community. That's pretty cool. And I really hope to get back there to see what it turns into. And you hit the nail on the head saying, I mean, they learn from the best and Burn Costa Mesa, because I've been there many times as well. And what a fantastic experience, and just excited that California is growing, and there's still a lot more opportunity out there too.
Yeah, there sure is. I'm excited because one of my good friends, Jen, lives out there. And she started in the parking lot back in North Carolina.
Yeah.
Excuse me. So it's cool that it's coming a little bit more. Like Costa Mesa is a little too far from her. She lives on Laguna Beach. So it's fun because she's seen the journey the whole way. And now she's got one like 10, 15 minutes away from her. You got to see my friend Jen too out in California.
We hung out.
I'm super
fun.
jealous.
Yeah,
so.
She showed us around. We had a local, making sure we knew where to eat. And, she's definitely living the Cali vibes out there with the roof off the Jeep. And it's just part of me picturing just the Cali life of just, I don't even surf, but if I lived there, I would.
That's awesome.
The sharks are the only problem.
Yeah.
I'd have to get over that.
That's true.
Do you guys think that they were just looking at each other on the treadmill like, do you like this? And they were like, no. And they were like, you want to
we could do better than
something
this.
where we don't have to be on this treadmill?
For sure.
Vic, you were a franchise partner, Vic. Well, how did that happen for you?
Well, it's funny talking about Shannon and Kelly. So those were, when Bees and I became franchise partners, they were just taking over Costa Mesa. And I remember they were the West Coast and we were the East Coast. And I was like, you guys do your thing out there. We're going to do our thing on the East Coast. And it was really cool because we kind of grew up with them in our franchise journey. But yeah.
That's what makes our community so special is like the love that franchise partners give one another. And like Kelly and Shannon opening them, welcoming them with open arms. And then again, teaching them what's made them so successful. It's really cool to see that happening. That's what's great about franchising and entrepreneurship is when you have other people around you. So, all right. We've got a Burn story. We love scrolling on our social media and just checking out all the different transformations. And so this one really stood out to us and the team. So Devin?
Yeah. And if you guys have anybody in your gyms or anybody that you know who has just really embodied what it means to transform from the inside out, like change their mindset, their emotion, their spirit, their relationships with themselves, with their family, with those around them, and have really just had the body be a byproduct of the focus on confidence, then I want to hear those stories. You can shoot them to us in any comment section, anywhere. We'll find it. We have an amazing creative team that is producing the podcast as well as on our social media. So please tell us your story and share. Today, we want to share Jana Haythorne, okay? She is from Hoover, Alabama. And Jana has always been into fitness, but she had 3 babies, and you obviously Morgan, Victoria, you guys know
Moms
this
of three.
Yeah.
very well. And what happens a lot of times is, you guys know it better than I, but you lose control of your nutrition. Morgan, I think you were pretty good for the most part, but you definitely went on a almond butter jelly Ezekiel bread sandwich run there for a while,
was when
which
I was pregnant, which was totally healthy.
Yeah.
That's a good option, at least, if you're going to get into something.
No, but she really like lost control of it, admittedly, right? Like you're trying to control it and you just feel like you're helpless. And I know so many of us know what that feeling is like. And on top of that, her husband got a new job and it forced him to relocate. So when you are struggling with your nutrition and your energy levels, and that puts you in this negative spiral, now all of a sudden you got to move to some brand new place. And she was struggling to find a gym family like she had in Mississippi. And so, she reached out to a neighborhood mom that was, now her best friend, and invited her to Burn for the first time. Like so many of us had gotten started by, a referral is what we call it from the business side, but just somebody whose life has been touched and who wants to share it with those around them. And so she had a focus meeting, which if you don't know what a focus meeting is, it's just an opportunity to sit down with our trainers and discuss one of the 5 pillars, right, that we have in the book, whether it's burn your body and your consistency with your workout, it's achieving and goal orientation and setting a vision and figuring out what your motivation and inspiration profile is, to nourishing your body and making better energy choices, to really believing and studying emotional intelligence and self-awareness, to the glue that holds it all together. And that's the connection with yourself. Like I said, core identity is what we talk about a lot in the book, like connecting with who you truly are before you can actually give value to those around you. And so she began that journey and made a pact with herself in 2023 to change her nutrition and ultimately change her choices. So she began to think about nutrition as like fueling her body, like as positive or negative energy. You put positive energy in, you get positive energy out. You're putting negative, decaying material in your body, you're gonna get negative energy out. And so every focus meeting that she stuck with focus meetings, which is a really important thing. And when you stick with them, it's that constant accountability of always having to show back up and discuss at the very least what we talked about last time. And just the very act of a conversation with designated time for it goes such a long way. You guys don't overlook the power of focus meetings. Jana certainly didn't. And this helped her both physically and mentally, which we all know life is mental. We all know that our existence here is mostly mental. And when we have our mind right, our body can get right more easily. And so she just had anxiety that, from losing control and the feel of helplessness to moving to a new city, it just started going down when she was connected into the community, when she was doing her focus meetings, and her anxiety decreased, and she was no longer, ashamed to be in pictures. She was no longer ashamed of her body. It wasn't about her body, but the byproduct she was very happy with. And, now she's able to do all the things, right? Keep up with her children, be a role model for them, not just talk words, but also have actions that can be that of a role model that her children can emulate. And, the last thing she'll talk about is the loss of 50 pounds and 16 inches and 12% body fat. That's the very last line when you read her story. Yeah. But it is there metaphorically to say the body is just a byproduct of the mind. And that's why we call them focus meetings. So Jana, I just wanted to shout you out here on the podcast and talk a little bit about your story. It's so empowering. It's so real for everyone who is out there struggling. We all, like Morgan was just discussing, going through our own things. So Vic, I know that, you relate to Jana's story a lot when we talked about it offline.
Yeah, I feel like I know her, and I appreciate you taking us through that journey. There's so much connection we have as Burn sisters and Burn bros on connecting through our stories, and just hearing you talk, I'm like, that was me. That was me. Yes, I was a tired mom, 3 kids under 4. And I just remember eating just because I was tired. And it wasn't even because I was really hungry. I was just tired. And so I connect a lot with this. Confidence is something I learned from just walking into Burn. And to me, there was confidence first in just showing up to take camp because it's a challenging workout. But then that confidence of scheduling that focused meeting because you're one-on-one with someone. And, part of her story was using words like feeling embarrassed. I was embarrassed when we started logging or tracking the food and seeing what I was actually fueling my body with were things that, once I documented, it's like, I don't want to fuel my body with that because it's really hurting me negatively. And it took me a long time to build that confidence in the focus meetings, but the accountability with the trainers. You were my trainer, Morg, Burn's sister. And so thank you for sharing your story, Jan. I feel like I know you. I want to high five you right now.
Yeah, me too. Me too, for sure. Maybe we'll have to have Jen on the podcast sometime.
Yes.
But yeah, I think for me as well, I think the isolation that it can feel after having 3 kids. And even though you're sometimes surrounded in a room with other moms, you can still feel very isolated.
Yeah.
That you're the only one walking through the hard things at the time. And so I can't imagine having to move and find community at that time. Because like Devin mentioned, I'm so grateful I had Burn throughout all 3 of my pregnancies. We started this company, we had no kids. So my first pregnancy, everyone walked with me and supported me. And I had all these mentors of moms like pouring into me, but it doesn't mean that those feelings didn't come.
Yeah.
And you do have to be vulnerable. You have to lean into those people and just kind of share where you're feeling. And I think the best place is focus meeting because that you have that rapport with the trainer.
Yeah.
And they're there to help you. So taking advantage of those focus meetings is super key.
A special shout out to the neighborhood mom who got her into the
Yes.
community
Yeah, I
because
love
it's
that.
funny. I think about that in our neighborhood all the time is we're busy. I'm just not always, hey, Jim, hey, Susie, and I like to picture this neighborhood mom bringing over, hey, I baked you some afterburn cookies, and so, and then inviting her to Burn Boot Camp. It's just interesting because they probably didn't know where that just little introduction would lead. And it ends up on a story that is so powerful and that we were excited to hear. So it's just cool. You don't know where
Power
those
sharing.
small acts are going to go.
Yeah. Yep. All right. So that's anything else, Devin? Okay. Great segue into our first member Q&A. So Katie from our Concord, North Carolina location asks us, what advice would you give for those who struggle to hold themselves accountable and struggle with self-discipline? So I'm happy to start. I think this is actually we heard it a little bit in Jana's story, but she had a burn sister, right? She had somebody that invited her in. And have you guys ever missed a camp when someone invites you to go?
Heck no.
No. If you're like, I'm going to wake up at 5:30 and go to 5:30 camp, I'll hit snooze all day long if no one's expecting me to be there. But if I'm meeting someone there, like if Vic asks me to come and Vic, don't start asking me to come to 4:45. I'm like, I can't let Vic down, right? So I just think there's so much power in accountability buddies. So that's what I find that helps me when I'm struggling to be consistent or have discipline is just somebody else help carry me through it. So that's my best advice.
Yeah, Morgan, I think that you are spot on so let me just continue that thread a little bit. We talk about it in the book, obviously, with Connect and that last strategy, that glue that holds the community together. And I think really what happens is when people start to find themselves, they start to notice that they belong to something that transcends them, that's bigger than them, right? And Burn offers this opportunity to be a part of something that, has a philosophy, that has mantras, that has values, that has a great workout, right? That they can be a part of, and they can feel that they're responsible in some way as a part of the whole. And when you take on that responsibility, that's when you have an opportunity for accountability, right? Because you can it's not that way that Morgan described in all fitness cultures.
Yeah.
It's that way in our fitness culture. Not to say it's good nor bad. It's just us, and what makes us us is that people find themselves. It's more than a gym, like we say in our tagline. It's them transcending this workout, this physical, tangible thing that they get to use as a tool to show themselves how confident they could potentially be and how strong they are. And then that belief creates this adherence to the brand as a whole. And to me, and I'm still thinking about this a lot, but that to me is a lot of what makes us different and why people say, I've never been a workout person, but when I can't, I'm obsessed with this place and I don't know why. I've always hated it and now I love it. It's because there's a little piece of you that you found in it. And now you feel responsible for it. So when someone goes to hold you accountable, that's actually an act of love. That's actually an act of togetherness and of oneness rather than an act of competition and an act of, oh, I'm doing better than you in my keep moving club, Mr. 108.
107.
Hey, I wasn't competing until you made it a competition,
know,
but if you make it a competition, then I'm going to show up. So
it's poetically said, but I think that's what Morgan, that's the underlying reason. And like, if you try to unpack all of that, that's why you guys can feel that connection, I believe, is because you both hold yourself responsible to something that's outside of you.
Yeah, I would add, for me, I tend to be a maximizer. I'm either all in or not at all. And so the accountability piece is helpful because days when I don't feel like it, I know that there's someone that I'm accountable to, whether it's my husband or my kids. Like, I know that they're kind of coaching me on to go. But for me, the advice I would give, just every day's a new day. And no matter what happened yesterday, just show up, just show up. And I think what we have on one of our burn shirts is keep showing up. And that's one of my favorites because it's just a reminder of, it doesn't matter what happened yesterday, I'm going to show up today.
Yeah.
So
that's awesome. For me, I'll try to articulate this clearly. I've never said this out loud, but I've heard a lot of other people talk about it. It's important for me to know that there's a voice inside my head that is just worried about survival, right? So when you look at the human body, the way that it's wired, it's like back in the day, if you're comfortable, that means maybe you're not in danger or you're not, you're wired just to survive. So when you choose to do things like work out or go in a cold plunge or a sauna, it's uncomfortable. So there's times where you don't want to do it. And I think what's important for me is just knowing the relationship with that voice. It's like, I can't believe it. It's telling me, it's trying to rationalize things. It's we wouldn't need discipline if this was easy stuff, but because it's not, and it's getting us uncomfortable, it's saying, you already worked out 4 times this week, or if you skip today getting in the cold plunge, well, you've been pretty good this week. And for me, it's just important to not believe that voice. And even the times where maybe I don't do the thing I know that I'm supposed to do, because that happens a lot, I still didn't believe that voice. Like, I know that I made a choice. Like, I didn't justify it for me. I just didn't rise to the occasion, but I wasn't, it's okay. I'm like, no, man, you're not, you said you were going to do something today and you didn't do it, but I'm not going to believe the excuses that voice is telling myself. And so that's always been very helpful for me. And then once you get some momentum doing those things that are hard, that your body is trying to say, hey, this is uncomfortable. Well, then it becomes more and more, it's just what you do. So when things become a lifestyle, working out as a former athlete, that's just been something that we had to do when you're in college. Then you go into a professional off season. When we played baseball, and if you want to reach your goal, you need to do that, right? So it just wasn't even a choice every single day. So then when you carry that into, hey, now I'm just an adult trying to be healthy, feel good, be the best version of myself. It just continuing that. It's a lifestyle. It's not a decision every week to be like, what am I going to do as far as working out? And so then the voice starts to show up a little bit less. Like, the more progress that you make, when it's not a decision, that survival voice isn't like, should we work out? Should we not work out? Because it's like, look, I've been doing this for so long that comes up much more rarely. Like something like an ice bath that's pretty new to my routine. I've had to go to battle with that voice a lot more with something that has not been a lifestyle yet. But I'll get through it because I won't listen, and I'll just keep doing it and doing it and doing it until it's what I do. It's not even a decision that I make.
I wanted to offer up, Katie, one more piece of advice that comes out of the book. As you were talking, as all of you were talking, I was just running through the pages that we wrote, and something really stood out to me that I think would help Katie and those who are also, wondering, how do I hold myself accountable? Like, I'm struggling with this self-discipline thing. Help me. Like, how do I get started? A lot of times is the question. Sometimes as those who maybe don't struggle as much with that accountability, we can tend to leap over that as it's not a big of a problem as it actually is for most people. Like, that self-starting intrinsic desire and motivation has to have some type of fire lit. And there's so many, and hopefully, Katie, you're not here, but there's so many who deeply struggle. Like, it's not just like a little bit. It's like, I am struggling to the point where I don't believe anything that I tell myself, right? And so we write about this, how to start to trust in yourself is the first step to self-discipline and self-accountability and ultimately actualization of the self, is to say, what do I actually really want? Because most of us, and we can breeze over that question just as easily. Most of us are telling ourselves we want things that we don't actually want. It's not a desire that's rooted in truth. And if it's not rooted in truth, then how the hell could you identify with yourself? And your core identity is what we call it in the book. In order for you to ultimately be accountable, you have to know what you want. In order to know what you want, you have to be truthful. In order to be truthful, you have to ask the questions that you might not like the answers to. And you have to stare at yourself in the mirror. So there's this self-confrontation that comes into play that will take you to an even deeper and darker place before you're able to start to climb out when you're somebody who is at rock bottom like that. And there's 3 questions that we really write about. And the first one is, if you were to be truthful with yourself, what do you really want? And we apply additional questions like to audit yourself. Like, is that what you really want? Or is that what your professor or your mom or your grandma or society told you? Did you watch a TV show obsessively as a kid? And was that the philosophies that came from this? Like, are you thinking as an independent, conscious being that's allowed to even have self-discipline, right? To have self-discipline, you have to know yourself. You have to know how to discipline yourself. So what do I really want? Is it truthful? Okay, and let's say we got to the point where it's truthful. Now I really, truly, I pull away all the possible distractions, and this is actually what I really want. And come to find out, most people just want some peace and some happiness and some freedom, and they don't want all the material things that are causing them to struggle with accountability in the first place. Okay, and then the next question is, what's stopping me from achieving the truth? Like, what are the obstacles that are in my way? And let's identify those obstacles. Self-awareness, self-identification. How does it make me feel when? Right? How does it make me feel when this is stopping me? And is that true? So these 3 layers of questioning can kickstart your journey. That's the hardest part of it, though, because to have that conversation with yourself in the mirror isn't rooted in science. It's not in math. It's rooted in artistry. It's rooted in knowing yourself and trying to discover who you are. And that mirror conversation is a conversation that so many people, they will go through decades of telling themselves a lie unconsciously. They're not self-sabotaging, unconsciously, just to subconsciously avoid the conversation of confrontation with themselves in the mirror. So that's where it begins. And then once you can identify with yourself, then and only then can you identify with your partner, your loved one. Then and only then can you identify with your children and your immediate family members and your brother and sister. And then only then can you identify with your social circle and really seek truth in people who share the same values in your social circle before you influence your city and your state and your nation and the world. And so many people have this built up anxiety because they don't know themselves and they're trying to save the world.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
All
Getting
right.
deep there, DK.
Yeah.
I like it.
That's what comes to my mind. I just wrote it here as you guys were
I
talking.
kind of remember a focus meeting where we had a similar conversation and you challenged me to really do some soul searching and
This was my process.
it's so good.
I think the thing that helps me the most is how do I want to feel?
Yeah.
Because I set goals based on really how I want to feel, not like something I want to achieve.
Yeah.
And so when I am questioning that workout or there's that voice in the head of, do you want to get in the cold plunge right now? Like I can listen to my voice say no because it's freaking cold, or it's a hard workout and you're tired. But when I can put myself in the moment of how do I want to feel? And I know I always feel better once I do it. So if I can project that feeling, it helps me move to action. And some people have never experienced those types of feelings after that working out, that high that you get after working out, the endorphins that come out and that are released and the energy I get from a cold plunge. Like some people just have never pushed themselves far enough to feel that feeling. And so that's what you got to chase is like, how do you want to feel? And you become more confident, you're proud of yourself, but then there's an actual like physical feeling after working out and eating good. And like you're fueling your body with the right things. that help you be a better person. So that's the other piece, Katie, that I would think about if you are struggling. You've probably had a streak at Concord where, you're feeling good, and it's like, put yourself back in those shoes and remember it's worth the hard work to get through that.
Yeah. So true.
That's good.
All right, we're going to move on. Our first headline, our first health and fitness headline. So we like to take some things that are hot topics out in the fitness world. And today we're going to talk about the power of seeds. So what are the healthiest seeds? When do we eat them? Why do we eat them? What are the benefits? And we're going to kick it off with Bryce over here.
He gets so excited to read these articles.
He's a researcher over
Seed
here.
just like-
Yeah, so I can always rely on him to know what these articles are telling us.
Yeah, I love to learn all this stuff. These are some things that I'm not necessarily just scrolling every day to be like, let me Google seeds and see what's going on in that world. So when this lands on my desk, I'm like, heck yeah, I get to learn a little bit about are seeds healthy or not. So let's start there. There's the article that we're looking at is from today.com, and it's headlined, "What is the healthiest seed? Dietitians share their number one pick." So I know we've all looked at this. Did you guys anticipate the number one seed being what it is before we reveal it?
No, I did not.
You did not?
I wasn't sure. I'm very, what's the word? I'm not very knowledgeable in this category. So I'm learning along with you.
When you were in the jungle, were you spending time and thought about seeds? Was this something that
Did you try seeds in the
you were
jungle?
ready for?
I tell you that I became one with food, and that I think about I think about energy differently. Like I think about consumption of food differently. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, I feel like it's negative and positive energy, and I feel like whatever's at the top of your list, although I don't know, and I still don't know. You told us,
You're
and I forgot.
Add it.
I'm sure it's delicious and good.
Vic, did you anticipate this?
I can't remember what it is.
Okay. All right.
I'm excited.
So number one, what is the healthiest seed? Pumpkin seeds.
Pumpkin seeds.
Ooh,
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
I can get down with that.
Which is great because I love pumpkin seeds. So when you see number one, I'm glad it's something I actually
yes, I already
want to
got
eat.
this
I
in
want
my
to get in the
diet.
game. But what jumped out at me was just with 1 ounce serving. Can you guys put that in context for me? Like 1 ounce seems like not a lot. If I were grabbing pumpkin seeds, is that
probably
one
like
little
15 to 20
Okay.
seeds would be my guess.
And I
But
can-
I'm going to go with a handful, like a little palmful.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I could crush that
you
in
probably
10
could
seconds.
like do that.
Yeah. Okay. So in that one handful crush, 10 seconds done, we've got 160 calories, 8 grams of protein, 14 grams of fat, 4 grams of carbohydrates, and 2 grams of fiber. So as somebody, for me, that it's always a struggle for me to get my calories in. Obviously protein, we're all pushing to get as much quality protein in as we can. But also for me, the grams of fat, when I learned fat is a big part of powering your brain, that was something for me that's become more and more important as I get older is, hey, my brain's my tool to be good at what I do, and anything that I can do, just do this.
Yeah.
And it's going to make me better at what I'm trying to do that day. That's fantastic. So when I saw those quick stats, I thought, I'm in the pumpkin game now. I'm in the pumpkin game seed. Pumpkin seed game.
Okay, so is there restrictions around this? Like, can you bake them? Can you put some seasoning on them? Or do you just buy them raw? Is it all raw?
I mean, so there are some recipes at the bottom, and what I was looking at and already sent to my wife and said, hey, let's get going on this. Is it looked like you're just kind of putting them in a pan, putting them in the oven, and then when you get it out, spraying some oil on it, some olive oil, and then just kind of putting some seasoning on it. Okay. So I don't know. This article doesn't cover, hey, are you basically asking, can you cook off some of these nutritional benefits?
Yeah, I mean, that could be a thing.
I'm assuming kind of roasting these things and getting them ready to go seems to be okay with the recipes that they're giving us. And then also there are some other seeds on this. Let's see if you guys throw out some seeds that you think would make the top list.
Hemp seeds.
Yep. Okay.
Okay.
Chia's on the list.
Big Dave's.
Big Dave's. I don't know. Is that a brand?
Big Dave's sunflower
Sunflower
seeds.
It is.
Yeah, I was
But
telling
not
Devin.
the nacho cheese kind.
Nacho cheese. What are they called? Am I right?
ranch.
Big Dave's.
Big Dave's, I think. You
think-
got
Two
David's.
baseball players
David's.
here.
Is
There's
there
a
a
big
spicy
one, too.
option? I'm sure there's a spicy option.
Well, I feel like, these two baseball players have a big old wad of sunflower seeds in there, but are they seasoned with like artificial junk?
Yeah, I mean, too much sodium is not
That's not the best.
very good for you. Yeah, it's probably not the best for sure. But yeah, if you get the unsalted ones, although they're not as delicious, they don't taste like a Dorito. It does control calories. My philosophy with all nutrition boils down to first, it's not the only factor, but the number one factor is calories in, calories out. Number two factor is composition of calories. And so, you know, if you want to be healthy, it's like, okay, well, then we need to first like regulate the energy that's coming into your body versus coming out of your body. And once we have our energy regulated, then we can secondarily talk about food choices. And so I like sunflower seeds as a great way for people that like to have something in their mouth. Like you could put a big old squirrel's share of, you know, sunflower seeds in your cheek and just chomp on them all day. As long as they're like low sodium.
I think that's bigger than a squirrel share. You think a squirrel could fit what you can fit in your mouth?
I don't know. If I was a squirrel, it'd be that size. Yeah, a human squirrel.
Relative to the size.
Yeah. So anyways, I mean, that's my simple approach to this article is like, okay, great. Seeds are great in general, great fat sources, secondary in protein, but also trying to, you know, I teach people to try to be a protein hunter, even if it's not an overtly a protein source like chicken or eggs or red meat. There's protein as a secondary source in a lot of different things, seeds, nuts, tree nuts, legumes being one of them.
Yeah. Sunflower seeds is on here. They don't go into, you know, the nacho cheese, barbecue, ranch, you know, the impacts per your question saying, hey, is there a way that maybe would diminish the nutritional value?
I feel like
that may be one of them, right? Is to add some ranch flavor to it. But I also do that when we're traveling. Sometimes I'll just, to keep myself occupied, I'll get a bag of sunflower seeds and just kind of spit it in a coffee cup. And I've never looked at that knowing that, you know, one of the flavors is sizzling bacon. You know, I've never been like, hey, this is a great choice. I'm pretty sure if I was working this into my regular diet, it would probably be the raw, you know, unflavored type thing.
But if you add them to like salads or you can sneak them into, you know, muffins, I think I've done that before. And actually we have a couple of recipes in the book. Our no-bake oats have flaxseed. We've got a salad that you can put sunflower seeds on. It adds that crunch to it. So obviously, like Devin said, it's another source of protein, but obviously good in brain health and healthy fats.
That is a good thing about seeds, is it even outside of just recipes, it's easy to throw on, you know, oatmeal,
Yogurt,
right? Think like chia seeds. I've done that before to say, it's easy. You have the bag and you just pour a little bit in, you mix it in, you actually don't even taste it. So if you like the taste, I guess that's not great. But if you're just like, hey, I'm doing this for the nutritional benefits, you're already eating the oatmeal, might as well kind of boost that,
Hide them in there a little bit.
Yeah, we do the overnight oats, and you can add the chia, and it actually helps with the consistency the next morning. Because
don't they expand in water? Yeah, chia seeds.
You do a lot of interesting nutrition things. I want to hear more because
Vic, my teeth
I
really
know.
bad.
Make sure you have floss.
Fun fact on expanding, they hold 12 times their weight in water. So they do expand quite a bit. Yes.
I will say, so I'm not an expert. I'm not a doctor. However, I have been on a little bit more of a nutrition journey over the last couple of months. In January, I was diagnosed with diverticulitis. I've shared with you guys. And there is a myth that someone that has diverticulitis can't have seeds.
Can you say what that is first?
So it's inflammation in your bowel, and everyone has diverticulum.
Lum.
And then some people have diverticulosis, and if it gets inflamed, that's diverticulitis. And there is a genetic component, and it does run in my family. But yeah, I had some abdominal pain, didn't know what was going on, and I ended up going to the hospital. I had high fever, and that's what I was diagnosed with. And so it put me on this journey to just make sure that what was going into my body was serving me well, and B, I was still staying within good macros and calorie count. And so I get tired of chicken. And so looking for alternative ways to add some protein to my diet. And I love eggs. And then I did add seed. And so it's been a journey of discovery.
Is there anything you've had to cut out that you really enjoy?
A lot of rice is not great for me. And then asparagus. Asparagus is inflames my belly.
Yeah.
So.
Interesting.
So this is a
But
this
all
is a
for the
myth
seeds.
you're glad to see busted because you can eat seeds.
Yes. Yes. Good. I'm glad to hear. All right. So who's getting seeds on their grocery list next?
I think we have some.
I think we have.
Yeah.
Although I don't think we have any pumpkin seeds. Those are probably sunflower or pumpkin.
Do you think we can convince our kids to like carve them out of the pumpkin and roast them and then eat them?
Definitely.
Oh, that's an experience. They'll love that.
It's going to go one way or the other. It's going to go like, this was fun. It was an activity. I carved this. I want to eat it. Or they're going to be like, that's gross. Where these things came from, I'm out.
Yeah.
Or
So,
Morgan's going to do all the work and then
Yeah.
clean up the kitchen.
Yeah.
Wait. Who's going to do all the work?
You know it.
Okay, the last 4 Halloweens, I'm carving everyone's pumpkin by myself because
You
they don't
carve
have
it,
the patience.
She scoops the seeds
Yeah,
out.
cook
I
it.
also
Pulp.
like to be very like artistic with them and like
That's
actually
awesome.
take my
Yeah.
time. And
I figured they're like, can we just do a jack-o'-lantern? And you're like, no, we're doing Jordans. Like we're doing shoes. And they were like, all right, it's on you
Yeah.
then. We're out.
yeah. I'm not sure Ryan he's about to be 4. He's right now at the
He's not
age where
ready for that knife.
he'd look at the pumpkin guts and go, "Oh, Dad, disgusting,
Yeah.
disgusting."
It's very true. All right. So we have another question coming our way. This is from Amanda Fisher, who is on the app. So if you haven't checked it out, you have to go check out Dr. Amanda Fisher. She comes from our Lee's Summit, Missouri location. And she's asking us, what are some quick protein hacks for the busy mom that's at games, practices, and
Yes.
basically an Uber driver, which I know you're pretty much an Uber driver.
Yeah.
You're pretty much an Uber driver. Devin and I are starting to get into that world that our kids are in dance and baseball and all the things. So we can't go through the fast food. You can't do that. You know, we gotta plan ahead. You gotta think about how am I gonna still get my dinner in and easy protein stuff. So what do we got for Amanda?
Well, Amanda, I appreciate your question and thank you for being a part of Burn on Demand with the core and pelvic floor sessions that you take us through. I know I don't obviously do them, but I know so many of our pregnant members have messaged me or postpartum members have messaged me and have thanked me dearly for your work. So we appreciate you and thanks for adding value to the podcast here with this question. To me, this is what her question was, protein hacks for busy parents who are living out of your car basically. And the first thought I had is this is exactly what the Burn Nutrition vision was for.
Yeah.
Right. It was to have supplements that were grab and go, to have protein bars that were grab and go. And we're getting ready later this year to roll out finally the last piece of it. Meals, whole food meals that are ready to grab and go. And then we're slowly trickling in our smoothie bars at our gyms in Burn Nation as, the 3-pronged approach, the supplements, the meals, and the smoothie bars to helping you be grab and go. Now that's going to not take care of everything, right? But that's going to definitely be helpful. And then my, suggestion in what we do, I don't think it's going to be that much different as all 3 kids start to get into more sports in the evening and we have to be the Uber driver because we travel so much already. We already have some good principles and mostly it's in the air. So we have a lot of good principles on how to keep protein with you on the road as you go, whether it be like a small Yeti cooler. The reality is you have to bring a cooler or a snack bag. And so, or both, it depends on how long your trip is, but definitely in the car all day, it's a snack bag you've got seeds in there. You've got a bag of cashews in there. You've got protein bars. You've got plenty of extra water in your car. I always keep 4 or 5 waters in my car at all times. Beef jerky. Yeah. I mean, give me some more things that
We
you can
do
add to this snack, like
eggs.
hard-boiled eggs.
Grilled chicken once
bars.
it's grilled, just burn bars.
Burn
Yeah.
bars.
Yep.
I tried to do some like Costco prepackaged like sliced chicken breast and it was disgusting. I didn't like it. You know what I'm talking about? Those ones that you can
I never tried it,
they have the perforations and they come in
Yeah.
like big strings of 10 and you try to break them off and eat them. Oh, I didn't like those. They tasted like fake chicken. So we've had a lot of trial and error over the years. Anything else that you guys can think of that could go in the grab bag? I put my vitamins in there. I also put Replenish in there. I put Ignite, our pre-workout in there, my collagen, my creatine. It's all in separate little bags.
I mean, if you don't like protein shakes, you can add protein to like a yogurt. So bring a scoop and bring some yogurt again if it's in a cooler. And that's just another way to get protein in. So
Yeah.
I think
I'd love to share. So Amanda, I think you're amazing. I never knew anything about all the amazing stuff you have on Burn on Demand, and I've learned some tips. So thank you for everything you do. What I do is, as a busy mom, when you do your meal prep, also look at what are your activities for your children and then prep those things. So for me, it is hard-boiled eggs. I have a son that loves mustard. So a hard-boiled egg dipped in mustard. We pack sliced apples and then like almond butter, anything, cashew butter. And then we do the grilled chicken. So Anthony literally will prep an entire thing of grilled chicken and like the chicken tenderloins where it's a little bit more like pick up friendly.
Yeah.
And then just grab
Cut
a
it
whole
up.
Ziploc bag.
Yeah.
Baseball field.
It's not
3
glamorous.
nights a week.
It's not glamorous, but it at least keeps you on track and you feel much better.
And
when
then
you do that.
granola. So we'll make homemade granola, which you can add seeds to. That would be amazing.
Yeah, there you go.
With protein.
Yeah. Bryce, any hacks?
Well, I'm just listening to you guys to take notes on all these hacks.
Drumsticks
Shayla.
in bag.
Yeah, Devin's constantly, how much protein are you getting in? I'm like, well, I don't know. And he's telling me if you don't know, then you're
It's
not
not
on
enough.
it. Yeah, you
Yeah.
got to figure it out. So, really just listening to you guys, it seems like it comes down to the amount that you want to prepare, because there's probably, things like burn bars, seeds, things that are kind of just grab, don't need to be in a cooler, don't need to be prepared. Obviously those are some options, but if you're doing the meal prep and you're working towards, all right, I'm going to be in the car, I'm going to need a cooler, then you can actually look at, okay, what can I consume cold? What will I still like cold? Hard-boiled eggs, even the chicken, because obviously if it's cold, it's still good. If you like to just rip off some chicken, some cold chicken, awesome. But then even protein shakes, right? If you're making a protein shake, I mean, you can pack that thing with the seeds, yogurt, protein powder, afterburn, your collagen, everything to almost make that thing a meal, right?
Yeah,
And so that's
yeah.
sitting in a cooler. If you're prepared, you've made that. It takes some work, right? Because you have to get the blender out. You got to, you have to put everything in there. You have to clean the blender, do it over and over and over. But if the prep time is there, there's a lot of options, right? It's just you're out, you don't have a stove and you don't have a microwave in your car.
There's also some healthy options. So to be truly transparent, moms, we're busy.
Yeah.
And there are like Chick-fil-A will do grilled chicken.
The chicken bites at Chick-fil-A are good, and then put it on a kale salad.
Yeah.
And they're both sides, so it's like
Yep.
super cheap compared to some of
Yeah.
their meals.
Yeah. Traveling, I mean, that's one thing that even just during the week practices and stuff, we don't eat out, but when we're on the road going to tournaments and stuff like that, Chick-fil-A is my go-to because they have a
Not
salad that I
Chipotle?
like. No, well, Chipotle, but that's something that I reserve. I can't
Those are still special.
I can't overdo it. When I'm traveling for work and it's just me, that's like, I know where our gym's at and I know where Chipotle and Starbucks are at. And that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
But Chick-fil-A has a great salad and it's just grilled chicken. Right.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
I think it's just making what degree of choice are you making?
Yeah.
I'm sure there's healthier.
Panera's a good option too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do the Starbucks egg bites. So that's another source if you're out on the go and you don't have anything. Starbucks is usually open pretty late, so I'll grab that.
And early.
And
I've been on the road with Morgan, and Morgan's day doesn't start until she has her egg bites.
I don't.
She
I
adds
am
extra
someone who has to wake up and eat. So
Hey, so cottage cheese, that's one we haven't mentioned.
I love cottage
and that's
cheese.
in the egg
Yeah.
bites. And
Yeah.
now you can get the good cottage cheese in the single serve.
Yeah.
Those are another
That's
good
a
thing
good
to put in
hack.
like your Yeti cooler.
That's part of the calculation. You're thinking, okay, what camp time are we going to? Then you have to work back. When do we have to leave? When do we have to be in the lobby? Then how much time do we have to build in for Morgan's egg bites?
Yeah.
That's pretty much the.
That's when call
And
time
then she's a
happens.
human.
and my
Sure.
coffee.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
just listen.
Yeah.
I'm
I'm a
not-
little bit slower paced in the morning than Morgan is, and so whenever we're traveling together, she'll like jet out the door as quickly as she can, and she does not intending to make me feel bad, but I feel left behind sometimes.
Well,
So
listen,
I'm like,
when
wait
I
for
tell,
me.
hey, if we want to go there, let's
She's
go
a
there.
GSD.
Yeah.
She's
When
going.
I tell my team we're meeting at the lobby at this time, you better believe as their leader, I'm going to be there
Yes.
at this time. I'm not going to be late. I'm not going to make you wait for me. And Devin, not that you have a different philosophy, but you like to cut it right to like the last 30 seconds of when we told people we were going to meet. I need to be there early.
Yeah.
So we just have different philosophies. And I'll say to him, hey, I am leaving at this time. I'm walking out of the hotel room. Do not get mad.
And I'll be like, oh, I got to go back. One more
Yeah.
thing. Oh, I left something.
This is
I
the
got to go back.
perfect time to talk about the Morgan Moxie.
Yeah.
So working for this leader this year, she is just this
Thank you,
amazing
Vic.
woman that stepped into this like leadership. And I love that Morgan Moxie, and I can always count on you. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Hey,
Yeah.
just to
and
get-
not late, right?
Yeah.
Not late.
Double click on that, yes, and then just to give Devin a little bit, we got to build him up
Build him
back up
up,
a little
build him
bit.
up.
Is they say that people who are late, which typically Devin's running 1-2 minutes into the lobby. We're not sitting there for 15 minutes, but they say people who are late are optimists because you always think you're going to get it done. I can do everything on my list before I need to be where I need to be.
Yeah.
Doesn't happen. right? But
Yeah.
you always think it's going to the next time.
And time is a man-made construct. So at the end of
That
the day,
sounds like
it's
a
just
jungle
it's
thought
just
for sure.
relative. It's just relative
What is time?
to
That
you.
is
What is
definitely
time?
jungle thought.
Did you know that in low Earth orbit, time actually ticks slower? They have to adjust the satellites to
Oh, wow.
call Earth time because time is actually relative to space.
If I had to ask you to guess if I knew that or not, what would your answer be?
I don't know. I don't know. That's a good question.
Did you know
because
that?
Okay, I did not know
You're
that.
pretty
I thought
interesting.
that would be pretty obvious.
Yeah.
That, you know, I dabble in some things, but time relativity is not one of those
Yeah,
things.
it's.
No.
I mean, it's just a fact of the world, you know. The last point I'll make about nutrition that I think is really important is that we oftentimes, well, first of all, like the non-negotiable is you can't be too low, because if you're too low, then you're not going to experience the energy that you can experience, and if you haven't gotten an appropriate amount of protein in consistently over a long period of time, meaning like 90 days or more, you do not know what energy feels like. You do not know what it feels like to be strong. This is the protein in our food is what really creates protein synthesis, fuels protein synthesis rather, which is the muscle building process. And so without protein, you're not going to get stronger, right? You're not going to build muscle. You're not going to get a more lean athletic body. But more importantly, you're not going to feel as good as you can. The range is the following. You can't be below this range. Okay. Chris Bumstead, the Mr. Olympia, he does about 300 grams of protein a day.
Wow.
So that's the ceiling.
That is work.
Okay. But he's also a massive human being, right? So it's relative to your body mass.
Yeah.
100 grams is what every human should be getting in. So your range is somewhere between 100 and 300 grams. What we need to do is stop beating ourselves up when we don't get 168.24 grams every single day. And we need to back our perspective out and just do whatever it takes to get into the range of 100 to 300. And I think that's a much more manageable, practical, approachable way to
good.
think about your protein. And then if I can do a double afterburn shake in the morning, and that's 43 grams of protein right there, I'm almost halfway there just in one little effort every day. And then if you kind of keep that philosophy of hunting for protein, like when I look at food, I'm like, I need to know how much protein is in the food that I'm looking at. You can just start to assimilate yourself to the amount of protein sources that you're going to need on a daily basis by intuition. And you're not going to have to, be somebody that like obsesses and counts calories and consumes their, time with arbitrary things like that.
Yeah, that's great.
Just a final strategy, and this is my main one, is just have a spouse that brings protein and water and all those things. And they definitely appreciate it. My wife does not get mad at me at all about me reaching for her water, her protein, her
Yeah.
snacks. So that's just another one to throw onto the table.
You would, Bryce. You would.
I do want to share real quick, my kids, do you like cleaning up the kitchen and then closing the kitchen?
Yes, every night.
Okay, so this is something that I've had to die to myself because my boys, now, especially now that they're home on summer break, they want to make a protein shake. And usually it's after dinner when I've already closed the kitchen, I've had to just, okay, this is good for them.
Yeah.
They're setting a really good habit. And it's okay if I wake up in the morning with my coffee and there's
Yeah.
afterburn everywhere.
Yeah.
Because they're creating that habit of getting some protein in before they go to bed. And
Yeah.
so,
That is good.
mamas,
I know. You got to let
Surrender
things go.
it.
Kitchen is open.
Yeah.
kitchen's always open with 3 boys.
Yeah, that's very true. All right. We have a myth or fact. Okay. So, does sweating equal a better workout? Let's go around the room. Devin, myth or fact?
Better workout, or
Does sweating equal a better workout?
that's up to your own perception whether it's better or not. Is it more effective or not? If
don't
that's
know.
your
I just
definition of
asked
better,
the question the way it was written.
I'm just making it very clear. If it's better, then potentially. If it's does sweating make it a more effective
I
workout?
think that's probably a good yes.
The answer is obviously no.
Okay,
Sweating
myth.
does not.
All
I
right.
think that's a myth.
Vic?
I am excited to unpack this. I didn't know the answer to this. I would think that it would because you're working harder.
Yeah.
But I'm eager to hear from you guys as the experts.
Okay. Bryce?
Yeah, my intuition was no as well, but with a lot of the things that I'm learning on the podcast, like you're breathing out your fat, it's like I never know, right? I'm going to learn something new on this show all the time, but my thought would be, hey, if all variables were the same, like your hydration and you did the same camp, let's say a week apart, and one you were soaked and the other one you were completely dry, it could be a gauge to say how hard did I work. But again, there's a lot of variables. And so I think you could get down that road a little bit to say, is this a measure of how hard I worked? But as we dive into the article, I learned that that's not always the case. And really the variables are never going to be exactly the same.
Yeah.
This was my thought experiment when I heard this question was, how does my heart rate feel when I get in the cold water? Right? Because calories are just energy. It's just the units of energy for our body. That's the way that we measure energy. So then whether it's effective or not is the amount of energy you burn. So the amount of calories that you burn. And when you get in a cold environment versus a hot environment, and I'm not a scientist, but I don't see the difference. I see the body's response to both atmospheres. And let's just like use the thought experiment of you having to go outside in like the freezing cold and like you got to do a full camp in the snow, and like the amount of energy that you have to build up, and then the heat that you have to maintain, and the heart rate that happens from immersing yourself in the cold environment. For the same thing, if you had to do it in like the middle of the Serengeti, like it'd be blazing hot. Your heart rate would be up. You'd have to adapt to the same environment. So given the variables were the same and the output was the same, it might even, I would probably lean, because it's more unnatural to humans, that you'd burn more if you were doing the same workout in freezing weather than you were in warm weather, because of the body's natural response to want to heat it up. But I could totally be wrong. I did no research to back that up. It's just
I didn't
my
think
intuition.
of it that way. I didn't think about the external environment. I thought about the type of workout that you're doing. So if I compare a Metcon day to a leg day or an arm day, a strength day, obviously my sweat levels are very different. And I think psychologically, you do leave a Metcon day drenched in sweat thinking, I just burned more calories and I just got a more effective workout. But then obviously, as I am a trainer, so I have training background, and I know that building muscle is still a very effective way and very necessary to help you get results. So this is a myth. For anyone that was wondering, sweating is an inaccurate way to measure how hard you've worked out. Sweating should not be the gauge of how hard you work out during a workout. And like Bryce said, there's many factors that go into the amount a person sweats, such as the temperature outside or the humidity or their hydration levels. And so your body could just be efficient at cooling itself. And which is very true, because my sweat levels might look different than Vic's sweat levels, even on a Metcon day where we did the exact same workouts, but maybe her body just doesn't sweat as much as mine because it's more effective at cooling itself. So this is a myth.
There's a gene for people that don't sweat. There's a gene. It's a rare one, but there's a gene for people that don't sweat.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
I've definitely noticed.
I've heard there's a gene for people, or like there's a thing that people don't cry, tears. Or like Is that just a clogged tear duct?
I don't know. I don't know, but I know that there's a gene for sweating, so I'm assuming that there's one for tear duct as well. Or
we've
crying.
definitely played on teams where you just have the guy that I don't think they're overhydrated, judging by what they did on the bus the night before. They're probably dehydrated, but they're just that guy that they step outside and they play one inning and they're drenched, right? They're just known for that, right? So just probably a lot of variables, and maybe there's a genetic component. But I will say one of the ones I experienced probably a couple months ago, I'm terrible at staying hydrated. I'm just on the go. Some people just always have to have a water bottle. They're thirsty. They feel if they're not hydrating, it's just intuitive to them. I can just go all day, and if I'm not intentional about it, I'm not doing this. And so when I got my sauna for the first time, I'm sitting in it and I'm kind of learning like, okay, it's infrared heat level. How hard is this going to be? And I'm sitting there and I'm not sweating. It was hard, but I'm not sweating. And then all of a sudden I'm like, all right, man, I got to get this together. I got to get my protein up. I got to be hydrated. I got to get my calories up. So I'm in a good place where I'm focusing on the things I need to focus on. And I'm sitting in the sauna, same temperature. I'm cranking it all the way up. And I'm just dripping, right? And so previously, my body was probably like, dude, I can't cool you down. I need this water in here for like important stuff that's going on. And then when I'm drinking water, all of a sudden, same temperature, same time, completely different experience. And so I did experience the hydration variable directly, not in a workout, but same thing.
You are not a camel. You can't hold water. You need it. You got to put it in every day.
Yeah.
But I do think it's interesting, Devin, maybe you could share a little bit about just the philosophy that some members have had in Burn Nation, where thinking they got a better workout on a cardio day and maybe skipping strength days because they were like, oh, I didn't sweat. You know, I need to go for a run after my strength day because I think it's psychology. You think you need to be sweaty at the end of a workout for it to be deemed successful. So any thoughts on that?
Well, going back to when I clarified, if we're answering the question, myth or fact, sweating equals a better workout versus a scientifically more efficient workout, because better is a person's perspective. So I also feel like I have a better workout when it's hot. I actually, you know me, and for those that have seen the workouts that we do in our home gym in the lab, I like to crank the heat up.
I hate it.
I
so
want to
much.
be in there. I want to burn. Let me just sweat.
Yeah.
Woo, because I perceive that it's a much better workout. And so
You said terrible.
when we think about like strength versus conditioning, if I had to pick one protocol to do, it would be for sure, it would be lower body strength day, because it's the biggest muscle, your quad, your hamstrings, the two biggest muscle complexes in your body. And when you work to what we call hypertrophy, which is defined as maximum failure, like complete human failure in an 8 to 15 rep range, although you may find variable rep ranges depending on which literature that you read, you are going to then kickstart the maximum muscle building process. Okay, so when I kickstart that protein, that protein synthesis, I'm nourishing my body. What's happening is the fibers that I break down throughout that strength training workout, the two biggest muscle complexes in my body, when I actually break the fibers down there, what happens over the trailing 72 hours, and most people know this is like the afterburn effect, but the basal metabolic rate of the body, or the BMR, rises, because all that means is how many calories am I burning when I'm at rest? Well, if you can envision your quads and your hamstrings as muscles, and muscles are buildings, and the building blocks of protein are amino acids, and those are like little construction workers kind of going, rebuilding your muscle. If you can imagine how much energy and effort is down there really working on the construction, the rebuilding of your muscle, then you would see why, and it makes obvious sense why there is an increased basal metabolic rate in the trailing days. So this is the classic cardio versus strength training myth. Well, we call it actually conditioning, not cardio. I mean, walk down the street, that's cardio, right? You're cardiovascular, it's beats per minute. So if you look at like a classic elliptical session and it's 2 hours long, you're done burning calories because the body was not taxed or is not forced to adapt in a way in which it needs to rebuild. You just got sweaty. You just increased your heart rate, cardiovascular. You increased your heart rate. You burn a bunch of calories. As soon as you're done, there's a little fall off window about when your heart rate is normalized and your breathing is normalized. You're pretty much done with the caloric burn at this point, given it was a low intensity, non-invasive type, non-demanding workout, and usually marked by the talk test. Like you can't talk. You can talk during these. If you're doing demanding training, you can't talk. That's a leg day. That's when you're working hard. You're recruiting those muscle fibers. You're focused. You're almost like in a meditation, in a sense, an active meditation of being present, focusing on recruiting all the muscle fibers in your legs. I would do that every day because I know the 72-hour residual caloric burn that comes from that, and then the subsequent muscle building that also then elevates the basal metabolic rate as you move forward in time is going to allow me to then have more muscle mass on my body. I'm going to live longer. I'm going to have a solid foundation. Obviously, I don't have to only do leg day. So in the next level, if I had to choose strength or conditioning, I'd choose strength 100% of the time. I think you see that is why it's becoming more popular. And I'd like to think that burn is aiding in that conversation to make it more popular. But the days of hopping on an elliptical and, going for 2 straight hours and thinking that was an effective workout are over because of the access to things like this podcast where people like us know what we're talking about. And we also don't know what we're talking about. We've actually experienced it thousands of times over.
Yeah.
Right. Which is tried and true.
So good.
So you're saying the difference between better could be, I loved the playlist today. My
Yes.
best friend was with me.
Yes.
More effective is this helped me get closer to my goals.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was a conditioning junkie, and burn changed my mindset because I started seeing results when I incorporated strength.
Yeah. And you're a runner, so
And
but
I still love to run more
yeah.
now for the mental benefits,
Yeah.
but I love a good strength day. And,
yeah,
yeah.
very good.
Don't get me wrong. Conditioning in cardio still has its place.
Yeah.
Like if you are avidly strength training and you mix in a speed and agility day, and then you mix in a yoga day,
I can feel his energy, right? He's like,
I mean, strengthen and lengthen.
yes.
That's the idea, right? And metabolic conditioning is the perfect blend, which is why it's most people's favorite protocol.
Tomorrow.
Because it's the perfect blend. It is literally an equal combination, 1 + 1 = 2 of strength and conditioning. So you're combining the heart rate elements with the load or weight movements through compound ranges of motion that really make people really enjoy those workouts because we feel like they were more effective because we're sweating, because our whole body is feeling it from head to toe.
Strengthen and lengthen.
Strengthen
To
and
give that
lengthen.
lengthen a try. I thought we were supposed to just stay just tight and just,
Yeah,
I'll give it a shot.
We're going to make space for more energy in your body, Bryce.
Cool.
I'm going to take you on a spiritual journey with me, okay?
I'm in.
Now that
Sign
I've
me up.
meditated in the jungle for 2 days.
All right. All
with
right.
hydration.
All right. Yes. Lots of hydration, Bryce.
We're going to do that, like go to Crowder's Mountain and just, we going to start there or are we going to Mexico right out of the gate?
Easy, big guy. We're going to start you in the pier.
Okay,
Yeah,
got it.
we're going to go out in the pier, sit in the lake.
All right, we've got another member Q&A. We've got Keely from our La Crosse, Wisconsin gym. She asks, how often do we work out each week? So I will say I'm an average of 4 times per week.
Yeah. I would say average of 5, 4 to 6. 4 being, where I let the voice win a little bit and busy week, kind of some commitments in the PM, or I don't maybe get to bed and get up in the morning and I need to, right? Because I've got stuff the whole rest of the day. But 4 to 6, 6 is a good week. 4 is a tough week. 5 is right in the middle, more standard.
Yeah, I'm similar to you, Bryce. 5 is kind of my goal. 4 to 6. I'm like that Snickers commercial though. You know where it's like they're hangry, but for me I'm angry because I haven't worked out. I need to move my body, and so on days when you need rest day, but for me I need to move my body, so I try to do it 5 days a week.
Devin.
So Keely, this is important, and I'm taking this perspective on answering your question. I'm assuming that you're wondering how hard you should be working. And it's all relative. And as you can hear, everybody here is saying these are people that have been practicing fitness. We have graduated at least the fundamental self-discipline layers of life, and we are able to, even on bad weeks, still get 4 times, and on good weeks get 6 times. But I want you to notice a range, because the range is really important. You'll notice a range in any recommendation that I give. I don't believe in absolutes. There's no such thing as a straight line in nature. I believe that you cannot be that rigid, because if you're that rigid, what you're effectively doing, and I'll do another metaphor because it's easy to understand, but you're effectively putting handcuffs on you and you're imprisoning yourself by doing what's good for you. And anytime you feel like you have to, or there's this obligation and there's a resistance toward the obligation, you're going to feel this sense of imprisonment, and you're not going to stick with it, and you're not going to be happy, because solitude and isolation is the worst form of human punishment. So staying in a range, right, where 3 to 6 times is a good range to start. That's what I would start any burn member on for the first. If we're sitting down for a focus meeting, that's what I'm going to start you on. I'm going to say, come 3 times this week, and then 3 times next week, and then we'll talk and see how you feel. And we'll build that up over time. And if you get to 6, there's no trophy.
Yeah.
There's you're not better than anyone else because you got 6 and they got 5 and somebody else got 4 times a week. All that means is that, you are able and capable and have the confidence and the self-belief to work out that hard 6 times a week, right? That doesn't mean you're going to have that every single week, because confidence ebbs and flows over time. So just keep a range. 4 to 6 for me as well. And if, I break one promise here and there, I'm okay with that, because I don't think we can be absolutely 100%. We can't hit 100% of everything we set out to hit. But if we can hit it 85% of the time, 90% of the time, we can keep our promises for the most part I think that's what you're aiming for. So my advice would be, don't set an intention that doesn't pull you forward toward it. Don't set an intention for your life or for yourself or for your workout regimen that you're like, I have to do this now because I put it down on paper. Whatever you're pulled toward is how many times a week that you need to go.
That's
Well
good.
said.
Yeah.
I'm a little sad that you just on record said 4 to 6 times, because that just took the meme off the table of like Devin Klein saying 8 days a week, because it's now he's on record 4 to 6.
I found myself, speaking of truth, over the last decade, I found myself, as I'm an advice giver and somebody who loves fitness and loves training and loves helping see people work through the 5 pillars of burn and find themselves mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically, relationally, find themselves in their career, with their time, with their money. Like these, I found myself gradually realizing how full of shit I actually was, and more and more and more leaned into not what people wanted me to say, but more what I actually did and what I was actually doing. Because I think there's a lot of misrepresentation out here. And I think it comes from a good place of influencers or gurus or whatever you want to call them, people that want to help other people. I think it comes from a really good place, but there's a lot of what they say, there's a lot of capping.
Yeah.
Right.
What does that mean?
Capping?
Like no cap.
No cap. The
no
lion.
lie.
There's a lot of lying.
I learned something new today. No capping.
Oh, you capping.
Yeah.
Clink, 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 clink.
Is
Oh,
that
I'm
you
not allowed to
capping.
say it though. My boys say it and they're like,
Yeah,
Mama,
so
you
it's-
can't
it's-
say
yeah.
it.
They're
Stop.
capping. It's
So
like
is
lying.
this a new term for like
Yeah.
young
It's
people?
been about a year.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, it's
All
It's
right.
probably new to
It's
us,
new-ish.
but it's
New
probably
to
not
me.
new. Yeah.
Yeah,
Golly.
newish.
I haven't heard Cameron say that one yet.
Yeah.
But
Do you
No,
remember?
I think-
I think my last point before I wrap that up was just to say that as I've gone through my journey over the last 10 years, you keep that question that I talked about earlier in the back of your mind. Like, is this actually true? Is this actually what I do? Am I being truthful? Am I being honest? And so there was a time, Bryce, and you would be right for having a meme where I'm like, yeah, we're going 7 days a week. And
No rest days.
No rest days. Rest days are for the week. Oh, you drink water? Water's for the week, right? Like there was an attitude. There was an attitude of that.
I don't know if it was born
that's an
out of that. Just like
exaggeration.
you get after it. That's more where it was born. And if you would have said 8 days a week, people would have been like, okay, you must have figured it out.
That's why I've become more in touch with myself so that I don't give people bad advice.
Yeah.
Right? You should not work out 8 times a week, people. Your body needs time to rest and recover.
yeah.
I think also it goes back to what Morgan was saying earlier about, so we talked accountability. So there's a balance here of how are you going to feel if you set your goal, give yourself grace and set the range, but then how are you going to feel? Because I think it just ties back to the goals that you set.
Yeah, something I've learned and been pretty vocal about over the last 8 years is fitness is going to look different for all of us. And I used to like give myself a hard time if I didn't make it to camp, but if I went for a walk with my kids and I pushed, Ryan or someone on a stroller, like to me, that's something to be celebrated. And so I know I've given a lot of other moms that encouragement in their postpartum journeys is like, hey, definitely get to camp as when you can, because it's a good mental outlet. But some days I know you only have 20 minutes, and like taking them for a walk and getting that mental, space for yourself is also important. So I answered this question and I said, 4 times a week is is my goal to get to burn. But I've also really started to appreciate recovery in new ways. So yoga,
that's good.
sauna, cold plunging, walking, like there's things that I'm continuing to do every day to stay moving, to give the mental
Love it.
aspect of it. And that doesn't always look like burn. And I'm not too prideful to say that as the CEO of Burn, is there are other forms of keeping your body moving and recovering and taking care of it. So it's a whole journey.
Yeah, they're on the Burn On Demand app.
Yeah, they are.
all
All
of
those
them.
things other than sauna and cold plunge. But hey, we might add that someday. Who knows?
That has been a
little meditation while you're in the sauna.
That has been a game changer. Because for me, when I say 4 to 6, sometimes it's just holding the place, like keep the habit going, right? Like if you're somebody who works out 4 to 6 times a week, sometimes 17 minutes of a quick camp is what that looks like. But
Yeah.
I'm keeping that habit. And to your point, it's like, what's important to you? I had I think a 23-day streak going on, but then I walked around Washington, D.C. with my family, and I was determined that I'm just never going to let this streak go. And I got home and I'm like, I just walked 8 miles. If I'm walking down and I'm going to do a burn on demand, what am I doing this for? I just moved today. I'm doing this for a reason that doesn't actually serve me. And so that was just even interesting where, to your point, I moved and I moved a lot. But I still had this thought in my head, like, I got to keep this streak going, which is powerful, but then it's also good to recognize, hey, is this aligned with my goals? I don't think so.
Yeah. All right, cool. Great question, Kaylee. Thank you. All right, so we're going to get to you, Vic. We're going to start this next topic about working out with your spouse. So I know you and Ant have a strong connection at Burn, and it's been a big part of your journey. And so tell us a little bit about that. You know, Burn's majority membership is women. You know, when you started, you didn't do the early morning. I think you did like 8:30, 9:30, right?
I did morning, but then I also came back sometimes in the evening or when the kids.
Okay. I apologize. I thought you were like a 8:30, 9:30 at first. So let's talk about how you were able to get your spouse into doing Burn, because I know that's super important to you. And it's important to a lot of people to have their spouse on the journey with them when it comes to working out.
Ant is the ultimate burn bro.
He's so cool. We were in camp this morning, 4:45, and he had a shirt on that read Machine, and trainer Katie Burke, shout out to Katie because she's amazing. But he stopped on the lunges and she's like, you can't stop with a shirt that reads Machine. And he said, move. I'll never wear that again. I will say, so Ant and I have been together. We've known each other for 20 years. We've been married for 17. And fitness has really been a part of our journey for as long as we've known each other. Both just appreciate moving our body, and both former athletes. And so it's important to us. But fast forward, once we started having children, we had 3 babies in 4 years. And I was mentally drained. I didn't want to create my workouts, go to the box gym, and have to think about anything. And my routine was off. I didn't have childcare. And so I stopped working out for about 2 years in that part of my journey, and Ant kept going. And so Fit Community of Moms, you guys know that was our original story, our original mission. And for those listening, that's what dragged me into Burn. Was I drove by every day with 3 kids in the backseat, 3 car seats, and the sign read Fit Community of Moms. And I was literally just desperate to move my body, to get back into a routine. And so showed up on a Saturday and didn't look back. And it was the connection with the other women, so many of us in that same season. And, you know, Ant had his box gym. I now found my community. And what was amazing was a couple months into our journey, I'm doing dishes and Ant looks over and he's like, honey, your tricep is popping right now. And so you know what's happening because you're seeing, you're feeling better, you're seeing your own results. But then when someone close to you starts seeing the results, and so he's like, I might need to try this place.
Were you doing the dishes naturally, or were you like,
I may have been flexing a little
sink, like a little flex on it?
And we'll have to have him tell the story. But he is a machine. It's important to him to work out. And so I'm thankful that I have a partner in life that makes that part of his daily routine. And I will say, when he came to Burn for the first time, he thought it was going to be easy. And as we all know, he got crushed. And I didn't think he was going to come back. And now 3 days a week, actually, when the protocol comes out on Sunday, he writes on the board, and I know what days he's coming to Burn with me. And his is about 3 days a week. And but he does move his body every day, whether it's going out on the golf course or playing basketball with the kids. It's just part of who we are.
Has that helped your guys' relationship at all? Just being
100%.
having that accountability?
Working out together. So both of us working out, we're pouring into ourselves, and you're a better person after moving your body. I truly believe that. But just doing it together too, especially that Burn offers the partner workout. So today was true accountability. You couldn't start your next station until they stopped. And multiple times I looked over and I was like, finish your reps. And,
Let's go.
Yeah. And then later we have intense fellowship because I'm like, man, you stopped so many times today and it's competitive. And so working out together and praying together are two mantras for success in our marriage.
Yeah. And how do you think that's impacted your 3 boys?
Oh, they want to work out with us.
Yeah. Tell us the story about your oldest.
Yeah. So my oldest, Sal, turned 13. Last year he's getting ready to be 14. And literally on his birthday came to camp with us and was just stoked. And now my youngest, Luciano, he's 10 and he is like, he wakes up 5 o'clock. Like we're walking in the door from camp and Luci's awake and he literally can't wait to come to Burn with us.
Cool.
And our franchise partner experience. So it was one of the best times in our life of building a business, a Burn business with our kids watching. Because they saw hard work, they saw us pouring into our members, and they still, like when we go down to Atlanta, they're like, let's stop by our gym. I'm like, well,
That's cool.
Gym, but
it's our gym. It's
in your
Burn,
heart,
it's all
your
of us.
gym.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, so guys, let's talk about your experience working out at Burn. Like Vic mentioned, Ant thought it was going to be a easy workout because it is, female centric, and we get that all the time. It was my favorite days on a Saturday to have a husband walk in with their wife, and you could just see like the attitude of like, I got this, and halfway through the workout, he's either out
on his knees,
or he's puking in the back, or he's taking a lot of bathroom breaks. And so obviously, Devin, you have a different experience because you created it. You never had that feeling that this was a easy workout. But what have your experiences been like? And what would you encourage men that maybe are thinking about trying it with their wife or their partner?
Well, I'll take the perspective of just creating the workout because that is a common thing that men say when they come in is like, I thought this was a workout for girls. And then 10 minutes later, I was like puking in the bushes, and they're saying it in jest, but generally speaking, that's like, I was trying to combat that, right? Like, no. These women, like, they are athletes. Like, I'm training them like I was trained as a professional baseball player and as a collegiate baseball player. I'm training them that way. There might be a few different movements. We don't have barbells, but the intensity, the ideology around hypertrophy, helping people work through progressive overload. Like, my goal was to take an average mom who's been sitting on the couch for 10 years and to show her how badass she was. And in order to do that, you have to introduce fear. Right. And I say this in a nice way, I promise. Let me get there. You have to introduce fear. You have to introduce doubt. You have to introduce something that's in front of them that they're going to have to overcome at least one part of themselves to jump over in order to feel that accomplishment. You don't get the accomplishment without the obstacle. You don't get the feeling of courageousness if you're not scared. If you're not frightened by something, you're not going to be courageous. And so my goal when creating Burn, even back down, I have this purple notebook that I started in November of 2011. Even on the front page, when I was choosing the names, I wanted the name of our business to have an intimidation factor intentionally, because I knew we were going to be more than a gym. I knew we were going to bring these workouts, this championship culture, and I knew what it was going to mean to people when they showed up and they would do it every day. And so it was never a surprise to me when people said, I don't know why I love this place, but I do. Well, it's because you overcame yourself with every single workout. You said that you couldn't do the 30s. And I looked at you and I said, do you trust me? And you said, I'm here. And I said, here's the 30s. And you did it. And I saw you light up. I read that on you, and then I high-fived you. We celebrated, and then I moved you on to your next station as a more confident human being. And it was every interaction, every movement was transformative, not transactional. And so I knew that was going to happen. And so it was funny to realize in our evolution from fit community of moms to fit community for families, I guess you could say now, is I wanted to introduce, the person in the community that makes the community go around, which is moms. And I wanted to introduce them to a whole new world. And I didn't know it at the time, Vic, but your tricep story of when you're, leaning up against the counter and Ant's like, dang, Vic, like, dang, babe, like look at you go. Like that was inspiration in action. You don't need to worry about telling your spouse what they need to be doing.
Yeah.
What you need to do is actually start doing it, actually start living it, start embodying it. And he saw that inside of you and then said, hey, I want to come and I want to be like you in this way. I want to, you're inspiring me.
I love what you're saying. And I will add, there was some physical transformation, but there was an emotional and a mental transformation. I was much more joyful and truly embodied that Sally Flamehead, where just confidence. And so that was the energy that he felt, really. He was like, wow, this place is different. And this is before Keep Moving Club. This is before Streaks. 6 months, I didn't miss a camp.
Wow.
And I just remember thinking, like, I have to get to Burn today. And that's why I was a 5 a.m. And then if I couldn't make it in the morning, I would come back in the evening.
Got it.
Just because it was so important to me not to miss.
Yeah, because you knew that feeling that you were chasing.
Yep.
You know, you knew that it was making you a better person.
Yeah.
Yeah. How about you, Bryce?
Yeah, I would say my experience obviously was different than yours because I wasn't scribbling in the purple notebook. You know, how am I going to inflict, pain and fear on everybody and make them better human beings? But it was probably closer to ants, where I wouldn't say that I had the perception that it would be easy because I knew you guys, I knew what you created. I can see on social media what it is. I think my thought was more, I've done stuff like this, right? So I don't think that I'm going to walk in here and be like, oh, this is easy. But more specifically, playing college baseball, what the conditioning looks like is, as science evolved, they kind of learned with pitching, you don't need to do all this like crazy, you should be throwing up type conditioning, because pitching is actually just 2 seconds of an explosive movement, right? So, but when you're in college, they'll just bury you just from a mental, like, how tough can you be, right? Like that's some of the thought process when you're in a college strength and conditioning program is, we're doing this stuff that's going to make you a better pitcher, baseball player, whatever it is. But some of the stuff that we're doing, we're just trying to find out who we have on this team and who can gut it through 30 minutes of whatever we're making you do, an hour, whatever it is. So I'm thinking, I've been through that. Right. I mean, it had been a little bit of time because I was coming out of playing professional baseball where it's a little bit more targeted at what you need, explosive. But I'm looking back, I've done this. Right. And I come into the first day and I realize I haven't done this. Right. It's different. I haven't done it in a while. And the trainer, instead of just someone saying, hey, go do this and just kind of yell at you in general, the training was so much better, where it seemed like if I took a break, someone knows. If I don't have the right form, somebody knows. I'm getting personally trained, and all of the methods of training that our trainers use just added up to the most effective pack a punch, hard, intense workout in 45 minutes. And I just thought, okay, I got through that, but it was different than I experienced. And thankfully someone told me after the first day, just keep coming and dying, and you'll, and then watch the transformation happen. And so that's what I thought to myself, just keep doing this and you'll be great. And
you are philosophical after all.
Yes.
Well, and it lives up to, honestly, when I've tried to get cute or whatever, just, do this workout or that workout on my off days. Look, having burn on demand is go to camp. And then even when you're not at camp, do burn. Right. And this has been by far the best year that I've been having as far as physical, mental energy, how I'm feeling. And also, like, don't sleep on the floating floor. As a 36-year-old whose back is 76, it's a big thing for me.
Benefit.
And then also look, there's no shortage of inspiration when you look left and right. Like, I couldn't tell you how many times like Ashley Beasley's been working out in my camp and looked at me and been like, I did that weight this morning, and I'm thinking, well, yeah, because you're a beast, but when you're looking left and right, there's no shortage of just, wow. Yeah. Like, people are getting after it. And I also think that has a lot to do with why our burn bro community is so awesome. Like, burn bros are the best bros. They're not just bro, like, oh, like I'm curling 100s with terrible form. And then I'm looking around to see who sees, it's like, I truly think that the people that come in and become burn bros are the ones that are humbled by what's going on around them. Right. And they fit in. Like, there's just not bad burn bros. And I know that that's really what we had confidence would happen when you make it for families.
Yeah. I think there's also, it's important to reference the different mods that we have. So baseline, modding up, challenging yourself more, and then mod down. because there are some days where when I look at the protocol, I'm like, oh man, my body might not want to do that. And so the trainers also see you, and you have that, that, like you said, the personal training where it's like, hey, I'm not going to jump today, so I will mod down certain days.
Yeah.
And that's something too, as I age, I think is super important for our members that are trying to encourage their spouses to come in.
Absolutely. I want to go back real quick, and we're going to wrap up here, but it's important, I think, that we do talk about that culture that you said, like the burn bros are the best bros, and the burn sisters are the best sisters. And Devin and I did that very intentionally, and we didn't really introduce men into the brand at the capacity it is today, because we wanted to make sure we built that community and that culture where it was a safe space for women to come, because most of the women that are walking in the doors, they haven't worked out or they're postpartum, and we didn't want this to be another place where they walked in and they were surrounded by judgment or fear of not being good enough and not looking good enough. And I can go into a lot of the reasons, the decisions that we've made, like no mirrors and things like that, but it all boils down to the culture of this non-competition, no judgment. You're going to come in and you're going to feel supported. And so I know Devin and I get asked this question quite often of like, why isn't it, why don't you have more men in the brand? Why aren't you marketing more to men? And we've very intentionally protected our culture and made sure that although we're innovating, we're not negotiating with the soul of who we are. And that is to empower women first, and then their families, because like you mentioned, when you're transformed, it impacts your marriage. It impacts how you can be a mother to your kids. It impacts just how you go about your day. And so we just continue to believe that when we double down on that, then we'll see change through men, women, and their families.
There's triceps popping all over the nation.
Triceps popping all over.
And spouses being like,
that's right.
Okay, I got to get some of that.
That's right. So, all right. Well, guys, thank you for joining me today. This was a great conversation. Awesome. Thank you for listening here on the other end. Just wanted to remind you guys that the Burn Book is available now, which we're so excited about. Thank you for all of your support. But make sure you purchase your copy. And like Devin said, come reach out to us on social media. His Instagram is at Devin Klein. Mine is at morgan.a.klein. We'd love to interact with all of our members. Let us know how you're liking the book, what your favorite parts are, and let's start that conversation over there. And then also don't forget, if you want to try our Burn on Demand, like we've talked about so much in this podcast, you've got a great offer right now, either $9.99 or $20.99, $29.99, depending on if you're a member or not. So we are going to link all that stuff in the show notes, so you can go right there and get all that information. And guys, we are going to end like we always do. Ready? 2 claps on 2. 1, 2. Bye, guys.